All right, you guys. So what I'm doing here is I am continuing the cartoon. So you can see I've actually added a couple more characters. I was working on Bomber, Bomber Stefan, if you guys don't know. Stefan's original name was Bomber. I'm not sure what the design's going to be for him just yet. I've gone through a few iterations and ideas, and I don't really like them. Like, I've done this, which isn't too bad. I'm just not wowed by it. But anyway, I do have, as you can see, Bruges and Vangel, who I've been working on. But they are going to be supporting characters. Anyways, Bruges had gone, with that blonde-haired character, which, I've actually done a thread. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I've actually done a thread I would recommend you look into. So if you go to mongers.net, I do have a new thread that I put up. So I've been starting to put various threads up over time. My game engine that I created, the C++ and the JavaScript version, they are available here. If you wanted to gain access to that, you could do that. So anyways, you'll find that the who created the first 50 Graal headsets thread. So I was studying them and I realized that these were actually just recolors. That blonde character that Bruges wore, head 5 was just the Nick headset with yellow hair. I decided to kind of maybe make his hair white. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it white or if I'm going to make it blonde. I really like the white. I think it's interesting. Sometimes you can, like I said, you can just use a little creativity and just kind of push it. I mean, if the hair was blonde, it would look like this, which I like. I like the blonde hair. I think it looks good. So I really like that. Yeah, maybe I'll stick with blonde. But, I made the Bruges character, and then I made the Vangel character. And so Vangel was actually wearing, again, that old man headset, which is head 13, which turned out to just be a recolor of Nick's headset with a beard. And so I, interpret that into Vangel's character for a cartoon, and I use, Vangel's NPC and stuff, and Bruges' outfit is staying true to Bruges' outfit. Same with Vangel. This is true to Vangel's outfit. I'm going to figure out what I want to do with the story. So one of the things that I was thinking about with the story was, Antago is the god of gravity or whatever. I had like that globe. So like I had that globe that I carried around for my admin NPC. So if I take that globe and I use that for the foundation of my character itself, I had like this really interesting idea in my dream last night that I'm going to roll with, which opened up a bunch of things for me. I started to notice. So I think what I want Antago to do in the cartoon is I'm going to have him as a cartographer. And so what he's basically doing is, and the globe represents gravity, right? Like a globe represents gravity because it's an orbital sphere. And so as the globe, was my thing, I think that maps will also be my thing. And also because I've always been the one who was most interested in the map as a whole. And there's also like that cartographer building that they put in Destiny, which makes sense. It just makes sense. I really like the idea of cartography. One of the things that I was already doing with the lore back in the day was I was actually creating a character called Keola. And this is part of Antago's Antago Press. And so even though a lot of those designs got lost, because archive.org just didn't save images like it does today. And I had this throughout my website with other characters and graphics and stuff. The various things I had going on there were Bommies, other characters. I had System Moth, the green moth. And so the moth would like flutter around Keola and flutter around my character. And I had like this thing called like I think it was called Keola Press or something. But there's also Antago Press. But that was more of my website. And so I think that what I want to do is maybe do like Keola Press, which is a printing press. And I think that it might be more interesting if it was a map store as well. And so it produces maps and you can come to it. And because Destiny is Destiny, one of the things in Destiny is a place to purchase destination resources, So like maps, pathfinding, information about the area, etc. And so I think it'd be interesting if Antago was doing like cartography and he would be sent out into the world to map various locations or to find things on maps and see if they're there and confirm if they're there and to update them. And so I think I want to do that. I think what he's going to be doing is, it'd be interesting if like the show starts off with him on an expedition, like some adventure, and it's really difficult. And maybe it's so difficult he has to leave and abandon the mission. And he comes back. But then he has to get sent back out to do another big mission. And I think that's going to be like part of it. And maybe one of them is to find the Holy Grail. He has to find Grails or something. And so that's part of his cartography. He has to find, the maps. So he's creating these maps and he's documenting them for destination locations. And so anyways, I'm not sure exactly, what am I thinking here? Yeah, so I was thinking that maybe Galen runs like city zoning and permits type stuff. And he's located in maybe like a circular rotunda beside the city limits or King's Castle or something. Probably not, somewhere. And so he's got like this, I'm picturing kind of like the walls are like stone, but not like old like stone that you would see on a well, but like big giant stone blocks. And they're kind of like uneven and beveled and stuff. And they're kind of cool colored, like bluish. And they got like this big circular kind of rug that's kind of fringed on the edges. And in this room, there's like tables, these old like medieval wooden tables kind of circled around the lining of it. And it's connected to maybe like this busy area, but it's kind of off to the side. And anyway, and Galen's constantly doing like updating different charts and providing permits and going and connecting people with different things. So I want Galen to kind of be doing that. So at some point, Antago has to go and connect with Galen, maybe for different access to stuff, and also for the cartography things. But Galen is in a different district. He's not in Destiny. He's somewhere else. And I think Galen would be closer to the king, or whoever it is, some king. Yeah, I want him to be doing that. I'm picturing Pachuca as maybe like a royal guard or like a bishop or something. And he's probably working for the castle, the baddie's castle. But Pachuca also has like his own stuff. He has like his own like temple and stuff down south. So I think Galen needs to be working for somebody else because he wears blue, and Ultimate Weapon works for them, and he's probably like I think he's the most decorated soldier, and so he's part of the infantry of whatever that kingdom is. I'll have to figure out what it is, but Ultimate Weapon or Galen are going to be part of that. I'm picturing Pachuca as roaming around the baddie's castle, and he's kind of like a bishop at the gates, but not like on the outside. As maybe sometimes, but mostly like on the inside, and he's like walking through the halls, or he'll be beside the king's throne or something. So I'm picturing that for Galen, or not for Pachuca. I'm not going to go too into detail with these just yet, but I think that's what I want to do. And so there's going to be cartography, and then there's going to be this press. And Antago he gets back from this. I think it's a failed expedition. And even if it's failed, it's still information, right? So like, it's like, okay, even though it fails, he couldn't go any further for some reason. That's still information at Keola's, the Keola cartography press place. So I'm not sure it needs to be called Keola Press. I think it could just be called Keola. I like the idea of it just being called Keola. So there's the printing press, it's the map store. Anyways, Antago's one of the people who develops the maps and brings them back. And so anyway, one of them is he gets back, and I think there needs to be like something happening in town. Like after he gets back from this, expedition, there needs to be it needs to be busy. Festival is happening. A giant market. So I'm thinking like a seasonal Renaissance fair type market. So it's like a busy kind of square in Destiny. So I'm picturing Destiny as this is one thing I don't like about Graal. When they stole it, these people suck. They have no ideas. They're stupid. I can't stand them. But I like the idea of Destiny. It changes with the seasons. So like during like the warmer months, or during like specific months. And I've created my own calendar. Like I said, I now have a Destiny calendar. You can download that on mongers.net. There's going to be different months and things like that. And anyways, maybe one of those months, or maybe like it's just a season, maybe for a whole season or something. That area where you walk into Destiny and you turn, right, and you go toward the boot factory, Antago's Manor. I think it should be just busy. And it's like full of like love and life and festivities, and so as he gets back from this expedition, he's kind of tired and he's kind of in a slumpy or a bad mood. I don't really like the word bad, so I don't really like the word slumpy, but something like that. And so he gets back and he's like walking, just past or through or around this festival. He's just paying it no attention. And so there's a lot of different things happening there. And a lot of people who are there who aren't normally there are now, just kind of in Destiny right now. But he goes over, I think he gets back to the manor, or he gets back to the map store. And from there, he documents the expedition that he went on, this long expedition, as kind of failed. But that's still information, right? Like, no information is still information. So he files it away. The person at the store, probably Keola. I think Keola runs the store. So let's say Keola's there, and he ends up leaving the store or something. But before he does, they go over, maybe they go in the back and they just go over this big table and it's kind of quiet, like it's loud and noisy. And then he opens the door and he gets inside of the cartography place, the Keola cartography place, and closes the door, and you can hear all that noise and it just becomes muffled, right? And now it's quiet. And there's on these like wooden tables, there's like this map that's kind of like, stabbed to the corners with knives or something. And it's like this big, giant rawhide. And there's this new thing he needs to go do. And so this is where the story begins in the cartoon. And this new thing that he needs to do is going to be, like never ending. Or, seemingly never ending. It's going to, it's not going to be a normal expedition like they think it is. And so it ends up going off into all these different tangents and things. And so anyways, I'm going to start there. And I'm just going to end this video. But that's just a little bit of what I want to, I'm just going to document the creative process of it. So anyways, this is where we're going to sign off. Thanks for watching.